We should never allow the government to decide what is acceptable speech and what is unacceptable speech. We should penalize behaviors, not opinions, and not speech. If you start trying to regulate speech, you start trying to regulate thoughts, you start trying to regulate beliefs rather than behaviors, there's no way that you're not going to abridge the constitutional rights of millions of Americans.
I'm John Runt, and I'm asking today for your vote as a Democratic Socialist for the United States Congress in Washington. I promise to destroy the United States Constitution with the help of my fellow socialists, Nancy Pelosi, Charlie Schumer, Adam Schiff, Elizabeth Warren, and many others whose names I won't mention because they are doing the job behind the scenes to help bring about our one world government. With my help, we will destroy the Electoral College and end, once and for all time, this lie called freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We all want the utopia that our global leader, Barack Hussein Obama, taught all of this nation to believe in. This is your responsibility, more than mine, to destroy the free-thinking people who always saw America as the hope for the entire world. We must destroy normalcy, unity, diversity, and above all else, individuality. Do what you have been trained to do, resist all authority and bring chaos to this nation today. Don't give up the fight to bring about anarchy like nothing that has ever been witnessed in the United States before. Together we can bring the new world order to the completion that our great Lord and dictator told us to accomplish, but you must destroy free thought and free wills. We all have a job to do today. Let's do this and get hatred mastered against all who try resisting our socialist rhetoric. I am John Runt, and I approve this message.
Being undocumented in Georgia should not be a crime.
The issue of cutting taxes is a false argument.
People shouldn't have to go into agriculture to make a living in Georgia.
Hillary Clinton understands that government is a profound expression of our common humanity.
We have the right to and the power to call for gun control. When we change Georgia, we change the South. When we change the South, we change America.
go home.
The title of this video today is called The Buttocks of Sawed-Offs. Now, I'm making reference to very, very obvious things about the communists calling themselves the socialist Democrats. A lot of people in this country are starting to see reality of what Barack Obama did in the 8 years he was our dictator. And I wanted to bring out to everybody who know anything about Georgia politics that when Governor Kemp was running for the governorship during the last 2-3 years, there was also a midterm election happening. This is like around, 2019, I think. We had a guy, and I call him Sawed-Off Runt, because the guy calls himself John Ossoff. He's a communist, democratic socialist, just like Keisha Lance Bottoms, who I call Mayor Buttocks, because she initially was against the protests that's been going on in Atlanta regarding they call them peaceful protests. But I honestly believe that now that she's cut off the curfews, you're going to start seeing more and more looting again. Because, as I've said in my other videos, blacks have a very distinctive hereditary trait as a part of their race to lash out, to cause havoc, because it's in their ancestry to war against tribes in neighboring areas of where they live. And that's the only way they knew to take over areas that they wanted, was to fight them, kill them, whatever. And when Buttocks is telling people that she will have law and order, she will not tolerate people looting, gutting out buildings, setting fire to whatever, or trashing the city. Now they're saying that she more or less gave in to the protest demands for having no limitations on how long they can stay out after dark. And it's a festering ground for not only the coronavirus, and it's laughable her saying to people that they should be tested for being at the protests. Folks, they're not going to be tested. I can tell you right now, the reason why they did those protests is out of retaliation against the whole law and order system of our country. And if you think they're going to do the right thing in having themselves identified whether they were too close to somebody, absolutely not. They're going to defy that too by saying, no, we're not going to be tested, because most blacks probably think this whole thing is a farce. They don't think that there is a coronavirus. Those who do are defiant because they've heard of the statistics showing that blacks are more susceptible to getting the coronavirus than whites. So that infuriates them as well, as Buttocks telling them, you got to do this because it's for the safety and the health of all the people around you when you go to those protests. They're not going to do anything. They're going to keep defying everything and anything they can, which is why you saw them when they were up there for the protests. The curfew initiated. You had the military out there to enforce that curfew. First thing they did was they bucked the system the whole time. It got to be 9 o'clock, then 8 o'clock, and yeah, most of them were smart, they went home, but you had a certain percentage core of those protesters who defied the law, and they stayed there as long as they could possibly get away with it. As a matter of fact, they taunted the police by running away from them or trying to evade them whenever they started marching forward in order to arrest the protesters who didn't want to obey the law. And today you see that Buttocks has given in to them all. She's saying, I have no problem letting them protest as long as they want to. And I think you can see it more or less as on the potential reality that she's black herself, so she's going to stand with her own race, whether or not it endangers other people who might especially the law enforcement people. See, the police are under attack literally to the point where the blacks are pouncing on them, and they don't care how many of those police officers die in the process of them getting their way, and that's why you hear them all over the country saying we're going to defund the police. Biden was saying, I am not for defunding the police, but to restructure how they perform their jobs. But I can tell you, Biden is a communist, true and true, just like Barack Obama is, just like all the other communists that represent the Socialist Democratic Party. And the end game of the socialists is to destroy local law enforcement, to destroy command and control. And once that's been accomplished, the next stage of it is to create a military presence on the streets. That's what martial law is all about. That's what Obama kept pushing for before he left office, but he knew there is not enough time for him to instigate the whole procedure. So he told the communists when he left, don't give in, don't give up, continue that progressive plan that I started for 8 years as president and continue it until it's finished. And that progressive plan is for that global world order to be completed, to be initiated in the United States. And that means the Constitution must go, law and order must go, command and control must go, everything and anything that made this nation great must go. And that's why you hear them saying over and over again that the process of voting, which is supposed to be the key element to freedom, to capitalism, to free enterprise, they're trying to dismantle it by saying, well, it doesn't work because you had all these failures in Georgia this week about of all things, just a primary, which is to identify certain candidates before the primary election happens in November. The communists, I guarantee you, the socialists themselves, Buttocks herself worked with Stacey Abrams, and they crashed the entire political system. And that's why all the voting precincts failed to perform their job, because this is the communists working their little web of deceit. And when you think of how much money did the Democrats have, let's bring up John Sawdoff again. The guy is a Democrat, and the Democrats have a blank check. They run this country financially because they have access to every dime they make off of us as American citizens through our taxes. Taxation without representation used to be the key element. If you're being charged as a taxpayer for something and you can't get an explanation from the government of what it's for, you're supposed to have the legal right to sue the government because they're not telling you what your money is going for. Now the Democrats have their hands on the purse strings, and they gave Ossoff, Sawdoff, Runts, every dime he needed to run during the midterms with Stacey Abrams. They failed. Now what's Sawdoff doing? He's back on the political campaign again. If the communists believe that what they're doing is right, why don't you hear them speaking out for unity in this country, to come together as a country to support President Trump, number one, because he is the president, two, because as a nation we must be unified in order for us to survive. The communists have done the opposite. They have since day one condemned Trump, put him down, destroyed him and his presidency, and every time somebody left his presidency, the United States government saw itself being attacked by the socialists, by the very people that were in the president's administration. The only reason that happens, ladies and gentlemen, is because those individuals were paid off to do those things. That the communists, the socialists came to them and said, whatever amount of money you want, to help support the communist philosophy of communist socialism, you have it. And that's why all these people who left President Trump's administration turned around and attacked him, because the money is there from the Socialist Party, from the communists, to do anything and everything they have to. And it's like, boy, where does all this money come from? It comes out of our pay pocket. It comes from our taxes. The Republican Party doesn't have that authority because they're not like the communists themselves. They have power beyond power to do the stuff they do. Not only is it illegal, but it is what I've said from the start: collusion, obstruction of justice. It is a conspiracy to overthrow the United States government and its people, which is you and me. Treason. For crying out loud, folks. We used to indict people for treason when they committed these acts against this country. They don't even say that word anymore. They don't even say treason. They executed Ethel Rosenberg and her husband because they sold military secrets about the atomic bomb program to the Russians. Yes, they had them both executed because they violated the oath that they took to protect the United States and its sovereignty, as well as its people. And now you see people actually just uproared that they would do that to a woman. Well, guess what? A woman is no different than a man. When a woman does crime, she should pay for it, just like a man does. And there is no exception to that rule. There shouldn't be. The same is true of blacks. When they commit crimes, they should be held accountable. George Floyd, his case, because of the fact that he was pinned to the ground by a police officer, is the only thing they talk about. He was arrested first and most important for counterfeiting. The guy was arrested for trying to pass counterfeit bills. Number one, that's a federal offense because you're trying to destroy the economy of the United States by passing currency that is not a valid form of payment. Then he resisted arrest, which is another thing that's supposed to be against the law, which is why the police officer Shaven had to put the guy on the ground, because he was struggling with the police. The blacks disavow all that fact. They say it doesn't matter whether he did that or not. It's the fact that the police had to use any kind of force against a black man. And all of this stems from the fact that we don't want to uphold the law. And when you don't have law, you don't have order, everything breaks down. And that's exactly what's going on in America. We don't have people using common sense, using sanity to see what is happening in this country is happening because the communists want to destroy our country. When they destroy the Electoral College, that means your voting rights end. And that's what they've been trying to say. Oh, this failure of the voting system, it didn't work. So what are the communists and the socialist Democrats saying? We shouldn't have voting anymore. Now, they're not going to say that to your face, but that's what they're working on in the background. And that's why all of these Black Lives Matter people are saying we have to defund the police. Because, again, they defund the police, they eliminate law and order. They eliminate command and control. The next stage, folks, is this. The nation becomes a sanctuary for prostitution, for murder, for illegal immigration, and then when it all floods in, it becomes what the Japanese talked about at the end of the Second World War. They said this as a nation. If we ever destroy America, it will be from within their own borders. The communists took that and they're using it against us today. They're destroying us from within our own borders. They're destroying who we are as a nation. Buttocks, sawed off, they're just small pieces to this big equation that's called communism. Another word for communism is totalitarianism. Barack Obama endorsed it. He pushed it for 8 years as president, and to this day he's still doing it. That's why you see his ugly black face pop up all over the place on the media, in commercials, everything and anything. He's like, here I am again, here I am again, here I am again. And it's like, we had enough of you, dictator. Get out of here. We don't want to see you anymore. The blacks are like, no, 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 we want Obama back. We want him as our global dictator. He is now the global chancellor. We got to stop the idiocy of this crap going on and take control and take back our lives as American citizens. Stop putting yourself in the criteria of a global citizen. When you believe that philosophy, you are saying the United States as a nation should have no identity. It should be nothing as far as sovereignty as a country or anything else. You're saying give it to the United Nations and let's all be some sort of grand global world government system that's supposed to be good for everybody. And all it means is they're going to trash everything still left, take away your rights, take away you, take away your family, everything else, and there's nothing left. And then they'll take you, me, everybody else who stood against them, put us in a FEMA camp, tell you, hey, you got one chance, renege, deny what you've been saying about the great Obama, or they'll kill you. FEMA camps exist, folks. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That's what their intents are. Kill off people who defy the New World Order. Defy the globalists, the atheists, the anarchists, the fascists. That's who they all are. Destroy, destroy, destroy our nation. Take command, take control. We all are our own leaders. America has always been its own leaders because the government was designed to be for us and not us for the government. That's the lie they've been telling you since Barack Obama came into office. He said you can't do it without the government. You are nothing without the government. You're more than you think you are if you believe you have the authority to do that. If you don't believe that you have the authority, then you are going to fail as an individual, as a citizen of America, because you believe the lies of Obama, who said you are nothing unless the government tells you that you are somebody. And we, as a nation, we need to stand up for our freedoms, folks. Please take up for your responsibilities, take up for yourselves, and take responsibility. Be the patriot that your grandfather was. Be the leader of your family and of your community as Uncle Ned was, or your great-great-grandfather. I'm proud of my great-grandfather. He was a Confederate soldier. He fought during the Civil War. He fought for what he believed in. You got hypocrites. Blacks themselves are saying these people should be dug up from their graves. They should be desecrated. I say, if they desecrate a Confederate soldier, they should dig up every black slave's remains and do the same thing. Because if you don't respect human life, then nobody should respect yours. Because you don't care about anybody but yourself. Blacks have that philosophy today in this country. It's about them. It's about nobody else. It's about them feeling they have to have retribution for their ancestors. And it won't work. It never has worked when you believe in your own ideals, that it's about me, myself, and I, and nobody else. That's why the Black Lives Matter is a lie in itself, because you're not thinking of everybody. You're thinking only of yourself. And that's selfish. That's vain. Vanity is the worst thing a person ever can do, because you're only thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about anyone else. You're thinking about you. That's why it should be all lives matter. Because it means everybody counts, not just blacks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is this video, and this is what it's about. This is about Keisha Lance Buttocks. This is about John Sawed-Off Runt. They're only in Atlanta. Think about all the other states of the Union. There are people just like that. Schumer, Schiff, Pelosi, Warren, Obama himself, Hillary Clinton. All these people should be arrested and charged for crimes against humanity because they're trying to destroy this nation. They're trying to destroy what it was founded to be. It's supposed to be about everybody, not just the communists, not just about the philosophy that blacks should matter and nobody else should matter. We have to be responsible, and we have to take responsibility for our country. We have to stand for our country. We have to stand for what it stands for. And stop being selfish and thinking that it doesn't matter what happens.
If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Save a typical family an average of $2,500. That you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
In a time of controversy, one thing is true. Our economy has roared back to life. The lowest jobless rate in 50 years. Wages up. As you vote, do you risk going back to double-digit unemployment and a dead economy? Democrats want immediate tax increases, government-run health care, and a rush to impeachment. Many of them want to abolish ICE and cripple border security. With what's at stake, do you want to take that risk? Teacher 45 is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
My administration will take all necessary steps to safeguard our citizens from this threat.
Hysterical xenophobia.
Be giving Americans a false sense.
Is it accurate that if these steps had not been put in place, it could have been 2 million people dead here in the United States?
Yes.
No matter how hard they try to stop us, they can't.
We built the greatest economy the world has ever seen, and we're going to do it again. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy.
What the federal government did was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Through it all, the world has witnessed the unyielding resolve of our incredible American people.
Promise made, promise kept.
And I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And you know that. With the grace of God, we will win this war, and we will win this war quickly. And we will make America great again.
They've reported from around the world, challenged the powerful, and they bring all of this to every story that breaks.
We've got breaking news, and it's good news.
And touches your heart.
How do you even say thank you? Thank you is not big enough.
peculiar thing about this.
You didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. You didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
They've reported from around the world, challenged the powerful, and they bring all of this to every story that breaks.
We've got breaking news, and it's good news.
And touches your heart.
How do you even say thank you? Thank you is not big enough.
I made this.
The images shocked the world. Relentless bombings. Stunned survivors.
اسمي عمران دقنيش.
قديش عمرك؟
4 سنين.